Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Progressively Yours Health and Wellness Podcast. I am IMANI Ma'at Kynes.
I am Jay Bernard Ma'at Kynes. That's an inside joke because she usually just say, I'm Dr. Imani.
Right.
I do the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, like to welcome our viewing and listening audience. Thank you so much for joining us again, and welcome to our new folks. We appreciate each and every one of you because you don't have to be here, and we appreciate that you made the decision to be here with us.
Mm-hmm. We are so delighted, and as we begin this show, we are so delighted to have a wonderful guest who we might as well introduce momentarily. But before we get to that part of the show, it is our ritual and our tradition to begin with a mindful meditative moment. We extend the invitation to you if you like to participate to feel free to do so. If you do not want to, you do not have to. It is a way for us to center our show and to center down. And so I'd like to invite you, if you wish to participate, if you're sitting, just to take 3 breaths in and out through your nose, sitting upright with your spine perpendicular to the wall or the chair. And just breathe in and out through the nose. I will strike the tingshaws as a way to protecting our space and our environment from energies that we do not wish to be present, especially as Brother Winder will share very, very important information with us in a brief reading. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Let your shoulders drop. Let your muscles relax. These words from Thich Nhat Hanh from his book, Your True Home. Your True Home. Lesson 145. Conditions are favorable. Conditions are favorable. When we first learned about the teachings on awakening, we think these teachings are new to us. But we always have the seed of awakening within us. Our teacher and our friends on the path only provide the opportunity for us to touch that seed and help it grow. There are many healthy and wholesome seeds already within our consciousness. With the help of a teacher and a community of practitioners, we can come back to ourselves and touch them. Having access to a teacher and a sagar are the favorable conditions that allow our seed of awakening to grow. The conditions are favorable for our awakening seeds to grow and to continue to grow when we surround ourselves with a teacher, a sage, a rabbi, a priest, a counselor, and a community of kindred spirits. It is indeed for the ancestors. Ashe.
Ashe.
Namaste.
Namaste. Amen. Thank you for those words of wisdom.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
That was very nice. The conditions are favorable, especially when we have a teacher or a sage or a wise elder, and we have a person who could probably be described as all of that when I get to introducing our guest today, who we just recently met, but thought that our audience would love to hear from him. And so before we get to introducing our wonderful guest, Mr. Winder Lyons, I would just like to encourage our audience to make sure that you subscribe and like our YouTube channel, Progressively Yours Health and Wellness, Health and 6600. Well, how it came up with that, I don't know. I always say that. But please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where the numbers really count. And we know many of you are listening on LinkedIn and on Facebook, so we appreciate you as well. Also, we always invite people to visit our red light bed. And if you are interested in the powerful impact that can have on your mitochondria, on your whole healing self, because we are in fact our bodies are designed to heal themselves. And a lot of what we encourage people to do is just make sure they have the right conditions to heal themselves. So you can contact us at 470-861-7266 and learn about how you too can come and visit us to get in the bed.
We don't have that piece, do we?
What piece? No, I didn't. Because it's just never enough time to do all of what we want to do. We need a 2-hour show for all of the little video clips that we need, but no, not this time. We actually have a little clip on something else that we're going to share a little bit later. And with that, I want to get right into introducing our guest, because there never is enough time. And I really want to make sure that we get to hear from Mr. Brother Winder Lyons, tell you a little bit about him. He was born in New Orleans in 1945. He started playing folk music on Bourbon Street at the age of 17. His creative juices were flowing from when he was very young. He was drafted in 1966 and was wounded in Vietnam in 1968. He founded the Ecology Center of Louisiana in 1970. Wow. He went to Tulane University for 1 year, and he wrote his own curriculum and studied Gandhi's political and spiritual thought. I told you he was a heavyweight. He wrote the featured music column for Dixie Roto Magazine, a Times-Picayune paper in 1972. And he joined his first MLM, multi-level marketing company, in 1979. He's been doing MLM work since that time, and with the exception of 1 year where he was doing energetic healing. And we do a lot of that work too and encourage that, including the red light bed. So let's see, what else do I want to say about him? I'm going to let him tell that story about coming into this lifetime, which he had a real unique experience. So, Brother Winder Lyons, please join us on the stage. Let's talk. How are you?
Greetings.
I'm wonderful, thank you. It's a pleasure to be with y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought so. I felt the kinship when we first were introduced.
Yeah, we're especially delighted to have you. Our first time meeting you, but I've heard so much through IMANI in her short time of knowing you. So, I'm on board and already going using the products and want to hear more about that. But before we get close to that, one of the things that I always ask our guests, and I started something different last week when I asked this question. The guests on our show, I want our audience to participate in this, and there's a reason, a method for this particular quote unquote madness. And so, Brother Winder, if you would share with us, since the audience that does not know you. Um, Tell us the first thoughts that come to mind when you think of your life from birth to age 12. What comes to mind as relates to your story during that time?
Well, the first thing to be specific, I remember coming into this body while in the womb and being in there while it was growing and being in and out during the gestation process. I was awake at birth. I remember the whole thing. I remember the first breath hurting, the first light hurting, the first sounds hurting. But that's on purpose because it wakes you up into your body. And and on from there. So I remember seeing the world as it is in truth, where all you see is spirit. And then gradually I watched as the illusion intruded and took over. And so it's the part of the human process where Jesus was clear, lest you become as little children, you shall not enter the kingdom. Well, that's exactly what that means. Until you get the crud out of your eyes and are able to see into things, to see as things as they actually are, not as they are pretending to be, you're in the land of suffering. And this whole process is about that, where we come in, we lose ourselves in Maya, in the dream, in the illusion, and then we spend the rest of our time waking up. Well, I remember that entire process because my reasoning for being here this time, is to help facilitate the 100th monkey, to help the world into the Advent, so that we are expressing spirit through every human on the planet simultaneously, and that's how we're going to change things. So my whole time has been a little bit different because I just don't buy into anybody's thought forms or processes, and it's a joyous journey. And I've kind of boiled everything down to 4 words: love or not now, because this is all we got. The rest is illusion. That's a quick one.
That's amazing. Love or not now, because the rest is an illusion. And I love that you actually you remember being created and being in the womb and coming into this noisy, light filled place. That's I mean, that makes you really unique, because I'm sure most people do not. I know I don't remember that moment.
What and in light of that, what other stories come to mind in relationships with your early life development uh, stands out as you connect that particular part of your story?
Well, I remember being awake and pretty much everybody around me was asleep, and it was very painful, because you're by yourself. But I also remember leaving my body and flying around the neighborhood and seeing what the neighbors were doing and coming back and telling my parents, and they just thought I had a wild imagination. So it was a very interesting process. Then around age 7, I finally gave up trying to be connected to the other side fully because everybody around me was lost and faking it. And I thought, well, okay, if that's what you're supposed to do, I can do that too. So I sort of severed my active connection to my spirit guide. But, being awake before I came in, I remember what the other side is like. And I've met maybe a couple dozen people in my life who have similar memories. And so it's unusual, but it's not all that unusual. But I think this process that we're in right now, the Great Awakening, more and more people are going to tune into this sort of thing and reconnect with the truth of themselves. And so everything I do is headed in that direction. In other words, there really is no bad news because everything that we've created that is not love can be healed. Because as we sow into life, whatever we sow, if it's negative, it's going to come back. And so the opportunity to fix it is always going to be there. And all we have to do is get centered, be still, and make better choices. So my prayer is that spirit become the totality of my operating system, so that because I don't want to sow anything into life that isn't of the divine. And negativity has divine purpose. It is to provide contrast, but it's an option that we don't have to choose because it's showing us where we go wrong. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to navigate.
We got it clearly. We make choices. We certainly make choices in this lifetime, and the negative or the less lower vibration choices are in fact that, just choices. I'm always telling my granddaughter, you have
Yes.
choices. I said, and she looks at me straight, and she'll go on and on about something bothering her. She's 18, just kind of really learning herself. And you know how teenagers are. And so I always remind her, you're making choices, and you can make other choices, So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
There are consequences. And it's all about consequences. Now, here's something that most people don't think about. When we sow negativity into life, we're going to have a return in all arenas: physical, emotional,
mhm,
spiritual, mental, all of it. So it's not unreasonable to think that if we sow some kind of nonsense, either consciously or most usually unconsciously, because we're trained, we have habits of negativity that we pick up from life. We don't even know we're doing stuff, right? But we do. And so it's not a far-fetched idea to think that we're going to attract back
mhm,
physical toxicity. Well, right there, if you buy into what I think is truthful, that 80 to 90+% of everything that's wrong with us starts with toxicity. In other words, all diseases, conditions, illnesses start with a poison. And if we sow negativity, here comes a poison back. Well, if we're using these amazing detox products that we have and you're getting the poisons out, you're also conversely at that moment able to shed all the other sort of negativity that drew that to yourself. So you get to heal at all
Mm.
levels at the same time. It's amazing how everything
mhm,
is consistent. You know, it's a
yeah,
So,
yeah, yep. It is.
so
It's all connected. It's definitely all connected.
yeah, thank you. And also thank you for the phrase that the negative and is just a way of providing contrast, light, darkness, contrast, in the
Good,
sense
good,
that
bad.
good, bad, is that the phrase, I hadn't thought about that way, that it just provides a
yeah, yeah,
contrast, because when you just said it, what came to me was that also opens the door to help eliminate judgment, to make more room for love and compassion that we can offer back when we're making interpretations or interacting with others who awakening spirit is on the evolution, so to speak.
True.
exactly. And where do I come off judging somebody just because they sin differently than I do?
Yeah, yeah,
I like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
They sin
They
differently.
sin differently. Yes.
Yeah. I There's a Native American.
Because anytime we're no, no, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say I would.
So anytime we participate in illusion, anytime we sow something into life that isn't divine, it doesn't matter what it is or what it looks like, it's still not divine. It's
Mm,
illusion. It's the stuff of the world. This is a dream that we live in. What's truthful is inside of this, but it isn't this. Just like, we fight over religion, but what we're fighting about is the street sign, and the street sign is not the street. If we were walking on the path, why would we care what sign there's up there? Except ego, right?
mhm, mhm.
So it's the same with any sort of thing that isn't divine. It doesn't matter what flavor it is or what it looks like, it still stinks.
Wow, so true. Tell us, let's make the segue into um, multi-level marketing and how you got involved with that, and how even in working in multi-level marketing, you carried those same principles of spirit and of kind of getting rid of the toxicity and staying, staying balanced.
Yeah,
Hmm.
100%. And because if we're going to facilitate the 100th monkey, if anybody out there doesn't understand what that's about, um, I'll tell a quick story. After World War II, a group of Japanese scientists were studying monkeys that were indigenous to a string of islands. And the islands were far enough apart so the monkeys had no interaction. They didn't swim between islands. But they all had a common behavioral trait. They loved a certain kind of yam, but it was in gritty soil. So they liked it, but they didn't. One day they were observing this group of monkeys, and one young monkey actually inadvertently washed one of these yams off in water and then ate it, had an epiphany, taught that behavior to her family. They taught that to their peer group. And when the 100th monkey learned that behavior in that moment, every monkey on every island in the chain started doing the same thing. So we're all connected. Well, the same thing is going to be true with humanity. When the 100th person awakens, all of humanity will shift. And I knew a long time ago that because of the power of exponential growth, you see Mr. Einstein over my head there? Einstein said, wherever that is, there it is. Einstein one time was asked, what's the most powerful force in the universe? He answered, compound interest. So if you think about that, it expands to infinity. It has to be understood only in the realm of the divine. So if we're after the 100th monkey, if we're after exponential growth, if we ever found a company with integrity, with the product that could profoundly change everybody who participates in it, we can shift the entire planet. And that's how I approach this. And that's what our company is. And that's what this is really all about. Under the guise of business, we're doing what I think is the most profound work that we can do.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about, you mentioned toxicity and the fact that all disease starts with toxicity. And that's a common thread through a lot of what we have talked about on this show, and the importance of detoxing and the importance of cleaning at the cellular level. I mean, we've had this conversation many times. I like your spin on it in terms of the issue of zeolite. Can you talk a little bit about that in particular?
Sure. Okay, so we live in a toxic soup. And the only people who would not need zeolites are the ones who don't eat, breathe, or drink. So zeolites are a miracle of nature. It's a negatively charged mineral. Now, it's a mineral, it's a rock, it's not a nutritional. Zeolites have been written about for a couple thousand years. The Romans wrote about zeolites because when they would line aqueducts with zeolite, the water would taste better. They had no idea why, but we know what happens. In your body, toxins in general, 99% of the time, have a positive charge. Zeolites have a net negative charge. So in your body, they attract, and the zeolite will bind the negativity. Now, because it's an inert rock, as soon as you take zeolite, your body tags it for excretion within 4 to 6 hours because it's trash. You can't absorb it. There's not a single receptor site in any cell in your body that will uptake a zeolite. So 4 to 6 hours later, we pee it out. That's the end of it. It leaves with its toxic load. The best way to think about a zeolite, it's like liquid flypaper for toxins. There's not a single thing on planet Earth better for getting poisons out of your body than zeolite. Now, we have two versions. One is a liquid that works in the gut, and the other is the real miracle. It's a nano-sized spray that's carried everywhere in the body water goes. And it is absolutely the finest zeolite product on planet Earth. We're the largest seller of zeolites in the world. And there's a good reason for that, because this is the only company I've ever dealt with that I consider to have 100% pristine integrity in everything. So here we have a company that gets these things in the same way we're talking about them and delivers with absolute integrity. Everything they touch is of the same caliber. The other products we have, every single ingredient in every product is certified organic. There's not one thing in anything that isn't the most nutritious stuff you can put in your body. And that's the level of integrity that the company has. So the zeolites are so unusual because it's rare to have a negatively charged mineral, and it's rare to have a company that will make sure that it's as good as it can get. And they never put profits over integrity. It's always about integrity first. And you make a little less money that way, but you'll make a lot more in the long run because you will thrive and because you can't fool the system. Most companies and most people, they get a little dicey with how they do things. Not these guys.
To you, I shared the story last week on our show that there was a big chemical explosion at a factory here in Atlanta, and it impacted a lot of people. Folks who lived near to that in that area were told to stay home, don't turn on the air conditioners, don't leave the house, because you see these billowing dark clouds, which were all chemicals. And the day after that happened, I was driving up to pick up my granddaughter, and all of a sudden, I was talking on the phone to someone, and all of a sudden I said, Jamila, I can't see. What in the world? I mean, it was so dark. I could barely see the car in front of me or the street light. And I'm like, oh my God, that's that stuff blowing from, and that was like maybe 10 miles away, maybe 15 miles away from where it had happened. And I was like, oh my God, I was so upset because I said, I try so hard to stay healthy. And that's actually, I went to my naturopathic doctor the next day. He did as much as he could. I was detoxing. I was, clearing out. And I spoke to a friend of mine and she said, zeolite, do you have anything with zeolite? We found like one bottle that had like 2 pills from a while back. We both took it. And at that same evening, I ordered some of the zeolite products. And I'm feeling much better. I was when I was in that dark chemical cloud, my eyes started watering. I could taste chlorine in my mouth. And I was in a car, windows are rolled up, the air conditioning was on internal circulate, and it still impacted me. Excuse me. And I know I'm still clearing
going.
out, but I know we have a little video. Is this a good time to do the little, like maybe Toya, our producer, can run that for us?
So as she's going to start that, let me just say that there's really, I have such a relaxed attitude anymore because I have the zeolites. I know that whatever is going to intrude, I'm going to get rid of it because it's just not going to stay. The zeolites are going to grab it and it's going to get gone. And if you think about this, here just one example of how important it is for everybody to think to do these things. We outlawed leaded gasoline in cars decades ago, but we did not outlaw leaded gasoline in airplanes. So we are being rained on by one of the most toxic substances known, lead, on a regular basis. And that has profound effect on us and children in particular. But these things are very, very toxic substances, and we are not taking it seriously. So we need to, and this is going to be a big help.
Yep,
So,
I agree.
Around the world, millions of people have been using zeolite to remove harmful toxins and pollutants so they can live healthier lives. But you may be wondering, what exactly is zeolite? How does it work? And should I use it too? Let's start at the beginning. Zeolites are created in nature. When volcanic ash meets seawater, it triggers a natural reaction, resulting in a crystalline structure with several unique properties. First, zeolites are a rare, negatively charged mineral. Like magnets, zeolites attract positively charged particles into and onto their surface. And it just so happens that most heavy metals, such as lead, mercury, arsenic, and many other environmental toxins, are positively charged. That makes the zeolite a natural detoxifier. Second, zeolites are distinctive because they are highly effective at cation exchange, swapping ions in and out of the zeolite. This means that when properly processed, the zeolite will give the body a good ion, like calcium, and take a bad ion, like lead. Cation exchange is key to how zeolite removes toxins from the body. Third, unlike other minerals, zeolites don't accumulate or stay in the body. They pass through in about 4 to 6 hours, bringing any toxins they trap with them. That means toxins end up where they belong, in the toilet. In today's world, detoxing is essential, simply because we're bombarded with daily exposure to toxins, which starts even before we're born. Over time, small toxin exposures accumulate and build up in our bodies, overwhelming our natural detox defense systems. Toxins can undermine our health in ways big and small, lowering energy levels, slowing metabolism, disrupting hormones, affecting sleep, and creating brain fog that makes it hard to focus. Detoxing daily with zeolite takes away years of toxic buildup, restoring energy, restful sleep, clear focus, and allowing you to feel like new. There are many kinds of zeolite, and the zeolite with the perfect combination of structure and cation exchange capacity is called clinoptilolite. But not all clinoptilolite supplements work the same. Most zeolite particles are too big to get through the gut, so they only provide a digestive detox. And nearly all of them already have toxins inside the crystalline structure, so they can't detox the body. Others feature a synthetic zeolite, lacking the hundreds of studies done on natural zeolite. And some even claim to have zeolite molecular fragments, which implies they're missing the whole zeolite structure needed to work for detox. Thankfully, there is one zeolite supplement that is nano-sized for optimal absorption and whole-body detox. Purified and pre-filled with beneficial minerals for cation exchange, uses only natural clinoptilolite, which has GRAS status and is the subject of all the scientific research, and features whole zeolite for maximum detox.
Clinoptilolite, that is a word. I will have to memorize that one. Clinoptilolite.
And I'm going to let her say it.
It'll let me, right. No, that's, and in watching that video, really watching it, I'm like, oh, that's why I've been running to the bathroom and urinating like every 15 minutes since I've been taking, because it's trying to get that stuff out of me,
Yeah.
I guess.
I'll tell you a story. When I had a buddy that had been a smoker for 50 plus years, and 5 years before he started with the zeolites, he had quit smoking. And for the first 3 weeks after he started, his pee stank of nicotine.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter what you've done. When I was a numb, I was around a lot of Agent Orange. Well, I'm 79, and I'm one of the few vets in the system, VA system, on 0 medications. When I went in for a hernia surgery, and the nurse was doing my uptake, and she said, "Well, we're not going to be able to put you into surgery because your form isn't complete, and we can't do it." I said, "Well, what's wrong?" She said, "Well, you didn't list any of your meds." And I said, "Well, I'm not on any."
Wow,
She
good
went,
for you. Yeah, I guess she didn't know what to do with you. Wow.
No, it's very unusual.
I'm a veteran also, and she said she didn't know what to do with you. I said the VA system didn't know what to do with you, because they are into just, take this medication.
What are your meds? What are the 20 things that you're taking? And
right. Well, that's typical of most Americans. But if you have a clean body, listen, your body's a miracle. If you get it clean and you feed it properly, it's going to take care of it. Homeostasis is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be vital and filled with life for the entirety of our life. We're not supposed to break down. But if you have all these poisons in your body,
Right.
you're just out of luck.
So I'm sure that's why I was drawn to you all, because of the consistency of lifestyle and spiritual thinking and being. So we're excited about learning more. Clin up, say that word. Clinoptilolite.
Clinoptilolite.
Okay, I love it. I love it. And the fact that the whole ion exchange, it's bringing in the good, taking out the bad. There are very few things on the market that do that, and that's another reason.
No, go ahead.
Well, and also our owner has done something I've never seen before. He has every batch analyzed and certified by independent third-party organizations of integrity that are known for their integrity, and they publish the results independent of him. So he puts it out there because he knows what it is. He's not afraid for them to publish independently what they find because he knows it's going to be right, because he insists on doing it right. I don't know a single owner other than him in the entire MLM industry that has the courage to do that sort of thing, because their products just won't hold
that
up.
speaks to the integrity of what you're doing and what you're putting out there. What about animals? Can animals use some of these products?
Absolutely. And I think it's a really good idea, particularly with the fact that there's bird flu out there now. And if you have a cat or a dog that eats a dead bird, they could become infected with what is a very deadly virus. Oh, another thing about zeolites, we also have studies that show that zeolites can interrupt viral replication. Now, zeolites, well, okay, so when a virus is replicating, it's growing, and your body can't access and get to it because generally there's some sort of biofilm or some sort of protective coating around the virus. Well, zeolites and those biofilms and those coatings and those cloaking devices and those things have a positive charge. Well, the zeolites have a negative charge, so they attract the coating, exposing the virus to your body's immunity. It's not going to stop you. It's not going to stop you from getting something, but it certainly could stop you from having it be a much more serious
and with all
problem.
the things that are being predicted that are coming, like the bird flu and other forms of COVID and other things, this could be a very good, protective, preventive sort of agent, if you will. And like you said, it might not prevent it, but it will keep it from escalating to being a major sickness.
Yep. I had COVID twice. And it wasn't bad.
Good.
I had a cousin die from it.
Yeah.
So it's very, these things they're not jokes. And but this is something that gives you a level of surety that you have a helper, that in these situations you've got something that you can use that's not a drug.
I think that's
the beautiful message. And when as a part of the video, when the person was indicating, how it's pulling these positive ions out, like lead. It reminded me of when I was on active duty. I had, cavities, and they filled my mouth with lead fillings, and I finally, the mercury that has the lead in it. So when I went finally to a mercury-free doctor, and they started dentist. I'm sorry, thank you. So extracting these mercury fillings, and he said, now your body is going to react once we get the last one out. And the next day after he refilled the last filling with a new type of filling, my whole body just turned red, and my skin just began to break down. And it took probably a year and a half.
Wow.
And I wish I had known about this product then.
Back then,
It
right.
would have expedited probably my healing process.
Yes, I always people if someone's going in for for mercury removal, they should start zeolites before, during, and after that whole process, and they will have. They won't go through what you
Because
had,
a lot
what
of
you
the
went through.
mercury is released into your system.
In bloodstream, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I had all mine taken out, and the dentist put in dams, and they did vacuum and all this stuff to try to keep that from being such an issue. But you remember the mercury is so toxic. If you remember the whole thing about the Mad Hatter, well, that because guys that were making hats back in the day used mercury, so they all were just out of their gourds. These are not benign substances. These heavy metals are very, very toxic to our systems.
Toxic. And so that's a good point. Anyone like me that was exposed to those, those very deadly toxins just a few days ago in Atlanta, they might want to look into this, getting some of the zeolite products. Like,
Take more. You got it. Don't be afraid of it. Take more, because right now you really need it. How often during the course of a day can we take the zeolite?
Well, there's no limit because it's inert. It can do no harm. A lot of times the label is just follow the label. It's 4 drops 3 times a day, 4 sprays 3 times a day. But I've worked my way up, and I take a lot more than that because I am of the belief that I need a lot of help. That I've been exposed to, Agent Orange and Lyme's disease and all these toxic chemicals, and so insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, obesogens. Most people have no idea even what an obesogen is.
Tell us what it is.
But I told you.
Yes.
Okay, so you've heard of Teflon. Teflon is one of the most toxic substances on the planet. And DuPont knew that, but they didn't care. They put it out anyway, right? Because it's all about money. They're now even finding Teflon in the blood work of polar bears. Think about that one for a minute. So it's everywhere. Now, Teflon that's linked to birth defects and heart problems and cancer and all sorts of things. But also, it's one of a class of chemicals called an obesogen that interrupts your body's ability to metabolize lipids. You can't burn fat, even when you. So when you take the obesogens out of your body, and that's something that zeolites will do, so people start melting. Because they can really. Yes, absolutely. Our bodies this might be the understatement of the decade. Our bodies are pretty smart. It's, we have 100 trillion cells in a republic of cells, and it's an astounding mechanism that we have here. But so when we have toxicity that we can't excrete, our bodies will wrap it in fat and store it in a cell. So we are filled with these little Superfund sites all over our body. And until the toxin's gone, the body won't release the fat. But you get the toxin out, there's no reason for the fat. People start losing weight with the zeolites and going, why am I losing weight with the zeolite?
That's amazing.
Does that work the same with all types of parasites?
We have a parasite cleanse coming out sometime in the next couple of months. But if a bad guy has a protective coating that the zeolite will remove, then one of the main things about parasites, we have 2 of these zeolites. The liquid that's with the dropper, right, and then you have the nano-sized spray. All right, the liquid with the dropper is designed to work in the gut, and it helps your body to balance its pH. Well, bugs don't like a balanced pH, so they're not going to find that a friendly environment. So in other words, yes, may not necessarily directly affect that bug, but they're going to create an environment that they won't like.
They don't want to stay. That's good to know. Oh, and on that subject, I think you were mentioning that there's also something coming related to telomeres, and we've talked about telomeres on our show as well. Tell us a little bit about that, because that is also major.
Okay. That's going to be the biggest thing to ever hit the industry, ever, I think. Okay, so telomeres are part of your chromosome, your DNA. At the end of each chromosome, you have this little extrusion. Think of it like a fingernail off the end of your finger, except that it's not solid, it's supple, and it's fluid, and it moves. And it's the clearest indicator of vitality that you have. I think it's where spirit enters the body, but that's just me. A lot of people have all sorts of ideas about what telomeres are, but here's the facts of it. I guess 30 years ago, a woman and her team discovered telomeres in pond scum, and because they're such a clear indication of health and vitality, and they're just a miracle thing, she was awarded a Nobel Prize for that. Well, one of her team members, a fellow named Dr. Bill Andrews, went on to discover telomeres in the human body. And his research and his conclusions were published in all the major medical journals about 25 years ago. This guy is a rock star in science. He has 50 patents, pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, and famously the 2 steroids that Lance Armstrong was busted for. But Bill Andrews, his conclusions are that if you nourish the telomere system properly, that you can not only stop but reverse the aging process. He says aging is a disease that can be cured. And his work over in all the major medical journals over the last 25 years has never been challenged. No one has ever poked a hole in his research or his conclusions. Well, he is now our lead scientist. He checked out our company and said it's the best thing he's ever seen. He was vastly impressed with the zeolites. He said our owner is the most knowledgeable person in the realms of nutrition that he's ever encountered. And he's bringing out his telomere products through us after the first of the year. So not that anybody, I mean, think about it. Who doesn't want to reverse the aging process and live in perfect health to 120 to 140?
I love that. And I think
that's what's coming.
That it just seems like when you're doing the right thing, say as you're, using the zeolites and your body's changing, your mind is changing, and you're probably making better choices too. So the things that you may have gravitated to that were addictions, sugar, alcohol, drug use, other things, will probably just not have. I heard somebody talk on one of the little programs the other day about even coffee. This guy said, "Oh, I used to drink coffee all day long, and I just don't even want it anymore." And I'm like, interesting. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, we have a product that speaking of sugar, that turns sugar into fiber.
Wow.
It's an enzyme complex.
What is it? What is?
I'm telling you, it changes everything. It's called glucocontrol. Glucocontrol. It's an enzyme complex that converts glucose into fiber, and it profoundly changes your relationship to sugar. Sugar is one of the most toxic substances on the planet.
Oh yeah.
And sugar breaks everything down. So, whole food sugars are one thing. Refined sugars, oh Lord, it's one of the worst drugs ever. And if you don't think that's true, try and quit.
Yeah.
And watch what happens. Talk about withdrawal and headaches. It's massive.
I've been a sugar addict most of my life, and I've weaned I used to eat cookies all the time and sweets, and I've definitely pulled back. in terms of even gravitating towards those things. But it's hard. It is an addiction.
Yeah, I want to think. Now, I was
Well,
going to say I want to go
go
back
ahead.
um, one step because I want to thank you about what the companies is in the process of doing with the telomeres.
Yeah.
And because I really I was encouraging Imani about this because I read this book by Lisa Barrett last year entitled How Human Emotions Are Made. And what I did not know until I read this text was that as you define what telomeres are, that black men have the shortest telomeres of all of the groupings.
Wow.
And she went on to say that chronic stress is the biggest factor that contributes to why our telomeres shorten. So, of course, as a African American male, and seeing, look at, well, we die first. And if this is one of the main corporates, I need to do something to reverse this. So every time I would hear something about the use of telomeres, I'm drawn to it like a magnet. So I want to thank you. I look forward to your company producing this at the first of the year.
Well, with Dr. Bill Andrews being the rock star and the gold standard in that arena, a lot of people say that their products are anti-aging. He's the only one on planet Earth that can prove it. And it's going to be a monstrous explosion of business. And so I encourage everybody to get in now and build and get ready for that, because if your goal is like ours to really do great good in the world, we need massive numbers. We need to get this thing, and that's going to be what I think is going to be the thing that's going to flip the 100th monkey into reality.
Well, we're on board with that wholeheartedly. That's our vision, our mission, our sense of call, and Imani and I are committed to being a part of that element of light in the world, and to get the message out through this platform. I am a psychotherapist in private practice, and I'm convinced more than ever that even though I have a full practice, averaging 40, 45 hours a week, which is maybe too much, but I do it anyway. But I'm convinced as I'm listening to my clients that it's not just the mental element, it's a combination of all three, as you have mentioned: spirit, body, and mind, and health. And so, I'm taking the leap when I hear or have a window to introduce products to them that I know that can help in balancing their lives and restore to a deeper level of spiritual healing.
And I'm sorry. Well, I was going to say, just to that point, this is probably the first topic and first show that I made arrangements for without even consulting him, because I knew that he would like it. So, and it worked. It worked. Thank you so much. What were you going to say?
I'm really glad. I'm really glad. What I was going to say is, excuse me, based on what you're saying, I think we all have two operating systems. We have the divine, which is our true identity and our nature, spirit, and then we have our pile, which is the accumulation of a thought-based identity system, which is false, which allows for negativity. And it all boils down to one choice in the only time that there is, which is the eternal now. And the choice is, are you choosing love or are you choosing negativity? Because love is the emotion of divine and negativity is the emotion of the false. And so everything we do boils down to that one thing. And in this moment, and it's once you have flipped the switch and you were fully present and make that choice consistently, everything in your life heals. Until then, you keep taking one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, one step back. And it's a process of awareness, of catching it. Now, when you are clean and properly nourished, it's easier to do that. It gets easier as you go. Now, there's no bad news, because whenever we sow something into life and it shows back up as a wall of negativity, we have a choice in that moment, and it's the same choice. Do we make it better? Do we make it worse? That's all we got. So these things that we're talking about all make things better. And when enough of us do that, the whole planet's going to shift. And that's,
we actually have
to
we
me,
have a
it's the
little bit
bottom
of
line.
time. I was thinking that we were close to it. I think we probably have another
We got 4 minutes.
4 minutes? Okay, great. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Either you're on the path of the divine and the spirit and the love, or you just keep going backwards to the negativity and then trying to catch up again. And so once you're there, and that's such a profound,
Yep.
and simple and clear concept. And so thank you for stringing it together like that. We should probably put that
Sure.
website on so people can see how they can.
Yeah, but I want to add to that
What?
based on what I read today. Yeah, like we're
The timing
called to,
is good.
Yeah, well, we're called to help folk in their awakening, because it could be easy to go back, until people develop new habits to want to remain in that light realm. And I like that you keep going back to no bad news. It just is. It's a matter of interpreting and reinterpreting and helping with that interpretation process, that we're here because we are love and we are light. And as often as we can, we have to infuse that energy into those around us, whether it's in a group, individual, somebody I meet on the street. This has been a very powerful show. We got 2 minutes, and we want you to have the last word. But it just got me excited. We were doing it on Sunday. I was telling them earlier. Sunday is a day I exercise regularly, but I did extra day. It's the day that for my Sabbath and renewal, as I sit with people each day. So this is I like this. I had a little skepticism at first in terms of, okay, how is this going to interfere? But you have helped to energize my fuel to another level. I'm going to pump some more.
Do some more spray and
zero light as soon as the show is over.
Let him have the last word.
Okay, you have the last word. I'm getting excited. I am excited.
He is excited.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you guys. But for everybody out there, I want to just look. If life is delivering crap sandwiches on a regular basis, that won't stop. It cannot stop until you do. But it's not that. It's good news, because when one shows up, you have a choice. Make better choices, and and everything changes and you have the power to completely transform right now.
That's a good last word, Winder. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and your wisdom and your being. It's so refreshing. We appreciate you so much.
And it is indeed for the
It's been a real pleasure.
You're welcome.
Thank you
so much. And we look forward to our audience being with us next week. For it is indeed for the ancestors that we show up to transform our lives and the lives of others.
Winder, stay around for a second, please.